We're going to call the meeting to order at 5:30. All right, 2:30.
6:32.
6:32. Man. Okay. We are here solely for the purpose of discussion and decision making, hopefully, on this awarding of this contract. I think that we are likely, because of my absence at the previous meeting, I have been filled in pretty thoroughly, but I think that it would probably be my preference that we were able to have at least a brief executive session so that we can sort of talk amongst ourselves. But before we do that, I would like to offer any of you the opportunity to say anything you might want to. Or if you don't want to, that's fine too.
Yeah, I mean, I personally don't have any particular updates or changes. You know, everything stands as it was originally presented. I wrote an email to Cynthia, and I think the biggest thing I would just encourage you to continue to look at is the relationship, and particularly who's vetting the contracts and what those contracts are and how they've been perceived in the market. I think, you know, again, the thing that, from my perspective, what I really appreciate and feel confident with Green Lantern Capital is their reputation throughout the state to have been awarded development rights and done numbers of these projects. And they just really established themselves, particularly amongst other select boards and school boards and other entities of that nature, to build confidence in the complexities of their contracts. And so when they embarked on this road and targeting municipals and school projects, they went before the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, I think, is that right? And also the superintendent's office to say, look, we're going to be presenting these deals to towns. Could you kind of look this over? And they're not necessarily able to kind of like red stamp and say this is the deal, of the century, everybody should do it. But they did vet it, and that helped to build a lot of confidence with some of the other select boards and towns that we are doing projects with. And so, you know, beyond the percentage that you're going to save in those kind of particular deal points, you know, they have developed a structure and a set of relationships that allows legal counsel to feel confident in the structure of the contract, select boards to feel pretty comfortable with who are the entities and what's the arrangement. And so they've just established a really formalized structure with these deals, which is a little counter to some of the other things that we see out there in the industry, which are typically kind of one-offs, different people with some tax appetite able to do one deal here, but they don't necessarily have the legal and other structure behind it to really have it be as profound and as quality of a deal. So I think that's, you know, from a developer who gets contracted by entities like this, they are the one that has really stood out amongst the field. I mean, they're the only one of its nature in the state who's developed that kind of reputation. So, you know, that allows us to feel confident with who we're selling deals for and installing contracts for.
Peter, you want to comment? Need to comment?
I don't think we need to comment on our proposal, stands. There was one point I'd like to make that I don't think was on the comparison charts, and that is you had said in the RFP that one of your criteria was that you were interested in local, in what's local, and we're both from around here. Our mailing address is Putney, but that doesn't make us really more local. But one place that we are more local is that we manufacture our own ground mount assemblies in Bellows Falls. So there is a sense of local commitment and involvement there beyond just the installation of the system.
All right.
So would you like us to go outside for a while? You guys can-
Do you have anything to say, Daniel, or do you?
I think that the goal of having the RFP put out there was to solicit similar proposals, and so I think that the goal was actually met here. That I think there were two proposals. They were somewhat apples to apples. I think that it's a significantly better deal for Putney than the previous proposal submitted by Mtg-Solar. So I encourage you guys to move forward as I have before.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remain completely neutral, and I haven't even seen the proposals, so I think they should stand on their own.
Sounds good. I would accept a motion to go into executive session.
Oh, I'm sorry, second, yep.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session, so we will enter executive session at 6:37. We're going to officially end our executive session and re-enter regular meeting at 6:59. And we have decided, after much debate, as you all well know, that we are going to enter into a contract with Integrated Solar, and that being contingent upon legal approval of the contract at the time that the contract is presented and that we have time to review it. We aren't at present going to elaborate on the reasoning for that, but we do intend to follow up with a letter to both of you, sort of outlining our decision, and if there are any further questions as to sort of how this came about, we are happy to be available for discussion for that. But, I will also say, this has been a more difficult process than we would have liked it to have been. We all feel like the proposals were both very good. We're confident that we would have gotten an excellent product either way. There just were details that made us choose this decision, and we hope that we can continue to be friendly and do business with anybody and everybody in the future. So,
don't forget you need to do an actual vote.
yes,
Okay.
yes, we need to have a vote on it. But if you have a question or comment,
I just have a comment. Since the availability of financing is so central to this project being worked either from us or for them, I'm wondering if it would be wise to put in a contingency that within some fixed, relatively short period of time, you actually get a financing commitment for the project, instead of waiting 6 months and then finding out that the financing didn't come through, if that's the case.
do you have an opinion on that? Do you know?
I don't. I guess I don't have an opinion on it.
I mean, I guess
don't know
that would sort of fall under that category. I think of it being contingent upon legal approval when a contract is presented. So I don't know do we want to put a time frame on a contract?
I can tell you that the way that Green Lantern will present to you and to your legal counsel, the contract will have a time frame on it that specifies that within X days the details of the land lease and the utility permitting process needs to be wrapped up, and if it exceeds that timeline, then opens up the door to renegotiate the contract, I guess. So I can ask Luke about how he typically structures that. Yeah.
I was thinking.
I mean, I guess I just don't know what. I don't see a problem. I just don't know what that time frame is.
I don't either. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, and
Yeah.
I understand the logic behind it. I'm not sure.
I don't know what the turnaround time usually is.
How long do you anticipate before we're presented with a contract?
I think probably by the end of the week, if you want.
Yeah. And that contract would include assurance of investors?
Yeah.
So, I mean, do we want to just, you know, if we haven't seen that contract by the end of September, do we want to,
Yeah,
does that sound reasonable? Does that sound reasonable to?
Yeah, I think
To
so.
both of you.
I should just check with Luke, who will be issuing the contract to the town, but I think he can get it to you very quickly.
What do we want to do? Do we want
I
to
know
put that
our
in a
lawyer's
motion
out of
or
town
not?
for 2 weeks.
So he's not going to see it until.
Yeah, I mean, one thing is, that, you know, my experience is every town, that legal process, it looks differently. Some people, it's
Yeah.
pretty streamlined and it goes pretty quickly. Some folks really need to work through it. It
So
just
it's
depends
3
on-
months though? I mean, is that reasonable? Like if we were to put, I mean, I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. To say, you know, we need to have this kind of wrapped up, know where we're at within 3 months.
I think that's in the proposal, in the original proposal. I think
Well,
I'm
he-
mistaken, but
Then we don't put it in there as a
I don't know
contingency.
exactly what you're talking about, but
I think we just say,
I
making
would
sure
think
that,
a much shorter time frame for them to present a contract and for you just to get
Yeah, no, I mean,
assurance that the
I think,
financing is actually there.
you know, whether we want to include that in our motion or not, I don't know, but I would certainly, you know, I would say maybe by October 15th, we anticipate having a contract at least available for review and contingent, you know, the details are going to take what the details take to work out. Does that sound logical to everybody? Reasonable? I mean, that gives basically 6 weeks.
it gives me a deadline to know when I should be paying really close attention if I don't see
Keep it
something,
rolling.
but
I think that sounds totally fine and reasonable.
You know,
I
not
don't
that
wanna
we will necessarily have a signed contract by then, but we will be
That's right. You'll have
sort of well involved in negotiations at that point.
Yeah,
if it's-
absolutely.
I
if
think
it's an
Well,
issue.
do that prior to getting into our budget season.
the contract
Yeah.
is a big
Assuming
It has a bunch of finance details and so forth. What I'm actually wondering about and looking for is a financing commitment
Right.
from them. Just to say, we've got the money, we've got the investors, we could write a check. If you guys signed on the contract, you know, we would be able to go forward. Because my understanding from Integrated is that they're talking about putting it on a site that won't be available till next spring or next summer.
Right.
And so they're not going to start building until then, but that might mean that they've got till then to figure out how to pull the financing together. And that doesn't seem balanced. So I would like there to be a timeline under which you're assured, others assured that the financing is available.
Okay. Well, I guess I would put that in that 6-week period also, is that we would expect a contract to be available to us that had, you know, reasonable assurance that the financing is available. Whether we can sort of write that in stone or not, I'm not sure, because I don't know how the legalities of that work, but that's what we would expect.
That's fine.
Does that sound reasonable?
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to accept the proposal for a solar electricity contract with Integrated Solar as presented and contingent upon legal approval at the time of its presentation, and with the assumption of financing being available at that time.
so moved.
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the proposal from Integrated Solar for a photovoltaic system, contingent upon legal approval and contingent upon the availability of financing within a 6-week period. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. All right. I don't think we have any other business this evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
you.
much.
So
Thank you both.
we'll be in touch, and you can just talk to me about how you want that contract to come before you from your legal counsel.
Okay.
And then the other thing he'll do is he will present to you with a whole package of support work. I don't know who your counsel is.
Yeah, okay.
That's a pretty normal part of the process that he
Okay.
And the other thing that he typically does is he'll be referencing a bunch of other councils from other towns who've done this. That's all
Okay.
really helped in the legal review part.
Okay,
Yeah. Great. Thanks.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Looking
Sorry
forward
it
to
was
what's
a
going
lengthy
on.
process for you.
Staying
See
on.
ya,
Yeah.
thanks.
All right.
Well, signing off, unless you need.
Thanks, Daniel. No, I think we're all
We're
set.
done.
Thank
Out
you.
of here.
I'm gonna go eat.
All right.
That's it.
Motion to adjourn.
That's so big, so
Second.
moved.
All in favor? Aye.